Hi, this is Brian Duclos with sprint number 7 for DGEngine. Today I'm going to look at the improvements that I made to the game and also the special project that I started this week, and I've made pretty good progress on it so far, I think. So let's just dive right in. So first let's take a look at the demo. So here we can see I added the rotating turret as well as mouse control for said turret. So this is actually just being controlled by my mouse. Um, and then I also added, so we can see the camera doesn't clip through the ground. I use the terrain get position and then use that Y plus a variable to raise it a little bit above the ground, so then I can also do this and not have it go below the tank and such. So as we can see, I also use the get terrain level on the tank as I'm moving, so that I can so I can avoid collisions, but also use the actual Y of the terrain to move up and down, um, which I think is going to be great for my final thing. Um, as we can see, there's still a little bit of an issue. So now you're probably wondering what all these green things are, and that is the navmesh that I have started to make. So I'm going to quickly exit out and show you the code for it. So we have the navmesh is made up of a double vector of pointers to nav points, which are structs right here, with a few variables in it, grid positions, the total distance traveled, that's for the pathfinding algorithm. Current position, the previous nav point, that's also for the pathfinding algorithm, as well as all the connections it has. So let's look into the generation of it. So as of right now, how you generate a nav mesh is in the scene, you call, so this is the demo right here, you call bake new nav mesh, and that calls a method in the actual scene.h to create a new nav mesh, and you put in a name, the location you want, as well as the width or the x max, like distance, and the z distance, so you can make it rectangles. And then you also give it step up, so how high it can step up, and the distance between each point. So that will, like, if you want it more like dense, you'd make that smaller. So now let's look into the construction of the navigation map. Here we have my markers just for debugging purposes. I don't use step up yet because I haven't added in, I have a class static that will be inherited by any class that the nav mesh can walk over. And I'll use the AABBs, the maximum, to detect whether or not I can step up onto the top of that object. And that calculation will happen right here after I've already generated the nav mesh. So I can go into the model, get the X and the Z, tell if a point is inside that X and Z, and if so, look at all the connections for that point and see if it will be able to step up. But right here, we see the generation of the nav mesh. Obviously, since I don't have it stepping up on anything or it having to avoid anything as the statics, it basically just creates a grid. So there's no what's it called, middle barrier objects. That will come with the static checks in the next week. But also, on top of just generating the mesh, I have my A-star algorithm in for pathfinding. I can show you in just a moment in action. So what I use here is I use Manhattan distance, and which is positive you know, a common heuristic for the A-star algorithm. And so here I find the start node and end node closest to where the player wants to go, or where the maker wants the AI to go. And then I dive right in, and yeah, I mean, it's a pretty basic A-star algorithm. And then after I mean, if you want me to go into more detail, I can, but it's pretty obvious what's actually going on here, if you know an A-star algorithm, which I'm sure, Andre, you do. Anyway, so now I go back and I run through the path backwards to find the beginning, so that I can give the player the beginning node first. And then I clear the used, so I clear all the previouss, and yeah, I return the path. I have a couple extra debug methods in here. Random navigate. This creates random points in the navmesh. We'll see this in a moment. And then my draw nav map, which if draw nav map is called, or show nav map is called in this scene, it puts a bool in, and yeah. So now let's look at it actually in action, the navigation. So right now I have it 1,000 by 1,000. So that should give you some sense of scale of what it's having to go through. Oh, and we got lucky. Okay. So it chooses a random start point or random end point and goes there. So now we can see it creates a path of, it returns a list of vects. So I don't have to have all the node stuff in there with it. And the player, or the AI, can just run straight off the vecs. So yeah, as we can see, it's not perfect, but it's a work in progress for the navigation. I think my heuristic is a little bit off. Either that or I don't have diagonals incorrectly, which might be the... no, because it's going diagonal. Anyway, any suggestions would be greatly appreciated, or but barring that, I'm just going to keep chugging along and see if I can't find a little bit better thing. I'm thinking about using, for my capstone class, I'm using a method of whether or not I can see the next node. So I'm thinking about maybe using that, because that cuts down on a lot of like these random corners and turns it more into a straight line, and also makes it appear more natural when the AI is actually moving it. So there's one other thing I want to show you that I made. So for the HUD, I wanted, in a lot of tank games, if you see at the bottom here, they have this little thing showing the turret rotation. And right now, it's working fairly well. It works rather well. The only issue with it is if you are turning the turret at the same time as turning the actual tank, as we can see now, it gets a little off. So I think that's just a issue of when I'm putting the things together, the two rotations together. The other thing I want to add is the rotation of the tank based on the ground normals, which you calculate when you calculate the ground position anyway. But I want to get the actual rotation going. So for the next week, I want to add in the static checks, and then I want to get those in before I refine my my A-star, and then also with the statics, I want to create my new my level, which I have a level layout in the, or I have a layout in my notebook of what I want it to actually look like. It's going to be I found models online for buildings, so it's going to be like a city split in half by a river with bridges going above the river, so I can showcase the nav map being able to go on top of statics. So yeah, I know there's a bunch of little things here and there that I'm thinking I'm forgetting to mention. A lot of math tools being added. GodCam for debugging. But anyway, if I searched and went through the whole thing, it would take forever, and this video is already going pretty long. So, oh, the other thing. So what I want to do with the nav maps, though, and this is the reason for the name, is I want to create like basically a database for them. So you only have to bake them once, and so you can have multiple of them. So I have a manager that saves or that is going to save the nav point information to a document, and then have another document containing the document names for all the nav maps. So the nav maps will be in separate documents each, and then there will be another document with the file names for them, and it will load that up on start, and then load up all the previously baked navigation maps so that they can bake it, and it doesn't have to bake at runtime. I mean, even though I mean, we can see the starting of it's not slow, obviously, but I think that might be a cool idea if we want to have like, or if the player, or I keep saying player, if the developer wants to have multiple nav meshes, nav maps, but I don't know. I mean, give me some feedback on that, whether or not that would be a performance detriment to load them in, or whether it would just be better just to have them have the developer make them every time, because I want to be able to have multiple nav maps so that we can give like a certain AI this nav map and another AI this nav map, so that they can stay in their own sectors and patrol. But I don't know. Maybe the text file reading might take a bit of a performance hit on the load. But yeah. So I'm looking forward to your feedback, and thank you.